Mic check 1 2 1 motherfucking 2. Just got this new mic in, so I'm about to pop my Black History shit with a little bit more clarification. With that being the case, in today's Mystery of Black History, we highlight Madam C.J. Walker. As Black people, tracing one's lineage can be a lifetime commitment. With the obvious obstacles of the transatlantic slave trade to chattel slavery to the masses of Black people receiving no birth or death certificate till the late 1800s, one would have to turn over every stone to trace and properly document their family history. With such a tall task, American journalist and author A'Lelia Bundles went through every document, artifact, city clerk's office, and museum to unfold the legacy of her great-great-grandmother, Sarah Breedlove, commonly known as Madam C.J. Walker. In Bundles' 2001 biography, On Her Own Ground, The Life and Times of Madam C.J. Walker, A'Lelia crosses every T and dots every I in telling the story of one of the most innovative women in American history. Born 2 days before Christmas, 1867, in Delta, Louisiana, Sarah Breedlove, unlike her four older siblings, was born into a free country. Yet freedom for Black people was tongue-in-cheek as the Reconstruction era saw masses of murder and violence from Southern whites who were upended by this new era of life. Sadly, when Sarah was 7, both of her parents died, and she would go to live with her older sister and her husband in Vicksburg, Mississippi. Life was still rocky. Sarah's brother-in-law was a very violent man, and this violence prompted Sarah to run off and marry Moses McWilliams at the age of 14. The two had a young girl, Lilia, yet in 1888, through unknown circumstances, Moses died and Sarah and her young daughter left Vicksburg for St. Louis, Missouri. It was during this time where Sarah's resilience began to emerge. Seeking relative comfort for herself and her daughter, she remarried John Davis, who was both an alcoholic and a womanizer. Yet Sarah knew there was more to press forward to. Whatever aspirations Sarah had for herself, her hopes for Lilia were even greater. The possibility that her daughter might spend her life either frequenting bars or leaning over a washboard motivated Sarah to work harder. I did washing for families in St. Louis and saved enough to put my little girl in a school in Knoxville, Tennessee. As John Davis continued to prove himself worthless, Sarah had begun quietly seeing a man named Charles Joseph Walker. It was around this time that Sarah wished for a more smartly groomed appearance. Especially self-conscious about her hair, she was no longer content to cover it with her head wraps that now seemed to be more suitable for plantation cotton fields than city life. Yet in the mid-1890s, due to infrequent washing, illness, scalp disease, and stress, Sarah's hair began to fall out. She stated that she was on the verge of becoming entirely bald. Yet it was by way of a dream in which Sarah's life would be altered. She states, "One night I had a dream, and in that dream a big Black man appeared to me and told me what to mix for my hair. Some of the remedy was from Africa, but I sent for it, mixed it, put it on my scalp, and in a few weeks my hair was coming in faster than it had ever fallen out." After obtaining the same results on her daughter and her neighbors, she later told a reporter, "I made up my mind and I will begin to sell it." This move would both uplift Black women and set up a lifelong rivalry between Sarah and cosmetics enthusiast Annie Turnbow Malone. However, the rivalry started out as employment, as in 1905, Sarah goes to Colorado to sell Annie's version of hair ointment. It was during this time that Sarah's entrepreneurial skills began to advance and her love life took another step, as she would marry for the third time in 1906, officially becoming Madam C.J. Walker. With decent business going on in Colorado, Madam Walker knew there was greener pastures in the South. Her rivalry with Annie Turnbow would now be in full effect as Walker would head back south and began selling her own hair products. This move would be pivotal as Walker's business began to flourish. In less than 2 years, she had succeeded in developing a national demand for her products. The growth became a family endeavor as Madam Walker would set up headquarters in Pittsburgh and hand the responsibilities over to her daughter. Madam Walker's hustle was unmatched. The book states, convinced that personal contact was the key to accelerating her sales and raising her profile, Madam Walker spent the summer of 1910 canvassing several African-American conventions. During July, she joined a large Indianapolis delegation at the NACW's 7th Biannual Conference in Louisville. While she had been on the sideline just 6 years earlier at its 1904 St. Louis meeting, she was, without question, the most successful businesswoman among the delegates in Kentucky. Within the next few weeks, she swept across the East from Indiana to New York, dropping in at fraternal and religious meetings and surveying events where she was sure to encounter customers and investors. It was during this time that Madam Walker was seeking a factory building. She would seek the assistance of Booker T. Washington, however, Washington wouldn't come to support her endeavors till a few years later. Though success was consistent for Madam Walker, so were the setbacks. Her husband, CJ, would have an affair with one of Madam Walker's workers who tried to steal her products and relabel it. This, of course, would lead to Madam Walker filing for divorce. In addition, her yearning for a business partnership with Booker T. Washington remained stagnant, yet Madam Walker continued to press forward. She became more determined in her business and more philanthropic with her resources. "I am not merely satisfied in making money for myself, for I am endeavoring to provide employment for hundreds of women of my race. I had little or no opportunity when I started out in life. I had to make my own living and my own opportunity, but I made it. That is why I want to say to every Negro woman present, don't sit and wait for the opportunities to come, but you have to get up and make them." Remaining steadfast in 1912, Madam Walker finally broke into Booker T. Washington's inner circle. She became a regular face on the Tuskegee College campus and even gave scholarships to promising students. Walker would continue going coast to coast expanding the business, and in the mid-1910s, she was a six-figure woman with 10,000 sales agents across the country. Continuing to put her money where her mouth was, Madam Walker worked with activist Ida B. Wells on her anti-lynching campaigns, encouraging her sales agents to not only make money, but also to participate in the different forms of philanthropy. With such a hustle and active lifestyle, Madam Walker's kidneys began to weaken, and though her doctors and close friends advised her to slow down, Walker only knew one speed. However, May 25th, 1919, she would pass away from kidney failure. Her funeral would be attended by a few thousand mourners, and her legacy would be cemented as timeless. On her own ground, a thorough and expressive work of literature of one of America's prominent businesswomen. Like if you enjoyed this segment, share if it could benefit others, subscribe for more book-related content. Till then, stay in the book and stay out the way.